What's happening, guys? This is this is Volos International now. Buried the lead there. We're excited. First post-match of the season. Olympiacos gets the job done in Volos, 2-0. And we're here to chat about all of that. But before we do that, of course, a lot of changes have happened with the channel, things that we want to talk to you guys about very briefly. And before we do that, first, I'd like to welcome my two co-hosts, Costa and Marcial. Boys, how are we doing today?
Pretty much fine. Pretty fine.
Good to be back.
Yeah,
indeed.
Exactly.
So a lot of stuff to chat about. But before we do, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if this is your first time hitting the channel. All of the engagements help us find more and more people, and it helps us connect the red and white community and find more red and white fans just in general. So help us continue to grow the community. You can also support us on Patreon. So with Patreon, there's 3 different tiers. You can join the WhatsApp group, which is just these days insane. It has taken on a life of its own, and you can get in on the action for just $1 a month. Plus, of course, we have extra content. We have a really big interview coming up with a Super League, First Division Super League executive. So we're really excited about that. And we would also like to thank our newest patron, Irvin Costadino Zignati. So thank you so much for joining us, my friend. And you can also join the Patreon community as well. Visit us at patreon.com/Volos7 International. Now, boys, we have had some major channel changes. This is the first time that we are running the show, not as international, but as Volos International. And we got a lot of messages about this, even though the message that we prepared on socials was pretty self-explanatory. But the channel has gotten bigger than, at least I thought it ever could. And part of what has come with that is our identity needed to be, it needed to be an exact identity that separated us from other entities. So that was part of the reason for the change. And then what came with that also was the One Football partnership, which we are super proud of. Being part of a network with millions of followers and subscribers is huge, not just for this channel, but for Olympiacos. Now, millions of people that do not follow the club, that are not Greek, not based in Greece, have access to Olympiacos and content in English for Olympiacos. And this isn't a small feat, guys. One Football has as many subscribers and followers as Greece does its population. And only 8,000 of those followers know of Olympiacos. So there's a massive potential for growth, not just for the channel, but for Olympiacos with this partnership. And we're really excited and proud of that. You can check out the content on One Football. There's great stuff on One Football for every league. There's even streams on there as well. But you can follow all of the content that we bring, our blogs that we've done. There's quite a few. So check those out there. And before we move on, Costa, Marcial, do you have anything you wanted to mention about some of the channel changes before we move forward?
Not really. I'm glad the name changed, and I think it opens a new chapter for the podcast.
It really does.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think it's something that we had in the back of our minds before. Just some things expedited it this time round, and finally we got around to doing it. And now that we're talking about it, actually, the old logo is still there. And I think if you allow me, I'll do the honors, and I'm going to change it right now. And there it is. So now the new logo is there. Top right corner.
It's still some things that are changing on various platforms. There's some images that will update. So thank you guys for bearing with us in this process. But we've got it's a huge transition. It was a huge transition. There's a lot of work that went into this when the change was made. And of course, there's going to be some things. Don't worry, the merch store will be updated as well. Every single piece of merch has to be updated on the listing and the images. So that's going to take about a week or 2. So don't worry, all of that will be changed. But we are super excited about this. The sky's the limit now, guys. And don't forget, if you don't already, to follow us on socials. But we're less than 100 away from 5K on Instagram. There's a giveaway on Instagram as well. We're less than 100 away from 5K on X. Instagram, we're less than 300 from 10K, and we have a giveaway going on. So check out Instagram, follow the rules for the giveaway, and you could win a new kit for the season. So unless anybody else has any housekeeping, I think we can jump right into some post-match. How do you guys feel about some post-match, boys?
You can find the link to the giveaway. We'll put it into the details after the show's done, so you can go straight to it. The giveaway is home kit, 100 years centenary jersey. So if you haven't bought one already yet, you have an opportunity to at least enter into the raffle, and if you're lucky, you get to win a large size home jersey. So go ahead and do that.
Absolutely. Now let's get talking about post-match. There's been a lot of excess whining that I have seen. And before we touch on some of the whining that's been going on, we'll talk a little bit about the game itself. Olympiacos get the job done, 2-0 against Volos. Job done as everyone would expect it. This was a pretty straightforward win, in my opinion, at least. Volos didn't really give us any problems. They also ended up getting a second yellow because Villafañez is an idiot, and he deserved what he got. But I know, before we touch on some of the complaints, what did you guys think of the game today? General setup. Costa, you start.
Well, if we look at the predicted lineups that we did, I think I got 10 out of 11. I think the big surprise for everyone was Costula starting up front.
Yeah,
I didn't expect to see that. The manager talked about it after the game, and he explained it in a sense that obviously El Kabi's been injured pretty much all preseason. Roman Yaremchuk's only been there not even 2 weeks, I think almost 10 days or something. And we started a lot of our friendlies with Costulas. He's the fittest of the lot. He contributes to the pressing scheme. So the more I thought about it after I saw the starting lineup, I thought, okay, it fits the system. Let's go. And he's playing with the starter, so he's got Velde, Gelson, Chiquinho quality around him. Let's see what he can do. And I thought first couple of touches he got in the game were really good. Like held the ball up really well. First touch he got down the right hand side, was bringing others into the game, looked confident. And then as the game kind of progressed, he got into space and was given the ball in good areas, and his touch let him down a few times. But okay, we're talking about a kid that's 17 years of age, obviously huge talent. So I think it's absolutely fantastic that we have a manager that's got the balls to just say, I don't care if you're 17, I don't care if you're 25, 34, 36. If you fit my system, if you play the way I want to play, and you contribute to what I'm trying to do here, then you'll play no matter what your age is, no matter what your name is, no matter what country you come from. So that's great. Other than that, I think I have 3 positives and a couple of negatives. Or let's do 3 positives, 3 negatives for me. First of all, clean sheet, because Rezos is pretty much our only kind of guaranteed starter. Let's say, and he got injured the night before or the day before the game, so we were going into this with a centre-back partnership that we've never seen. Certainly not in an official game. Okay, we may have seen Pirola and Biancon play once or twice together during preseason, but that I think that was a big gamble, and we didn't have much to deal with. Pirola had a couple of really good blocks. I thought that Ortega showed some of his weaknesses today. Jekyll and Hyde, he was good going forward, getting into good overlapping positions, but then some clearances that weren't good enough. There was one clearance where he's tried to clear a cross and it's gone straight to an attacker inside the penalty area, and Pirola's blocked it, and that could have been really dangerous. I think it was at 1-0 they could have equalized. So clean sheet, super important. Point 2, Gelson Martins, obviously 2 assists today, and generally looked lively, looked bright, and dangerous every time he got the ball. And then my third kind of positive was Andreas Doe. Again, individual performance. I thought he carried on from where he left off in the game against Aris Limassol. He was really strong. not hesitant to go into the tackles. He could have broken his leg. Like, man, the first yellow card that Villafaña's got was studs up in the shin. I saw a replay afterwards, actually, and I thought, that was his first booking. And then he was complaining about the second one, which again was studs up in the back of Jeze's leg. And it, like, Volos' manager talking about it as well afterwards. Like, what are you talking about, mate? You should have been off from the first tackle. But I digress. Like, progressing the ball forward, he was really good as well. I know that last season, a lot of the time, both I and Marshall, we were talking about seeing Ndoye in his position where he played with the B team, with the under-19s. He moved into centre back today, showed his versatility, and he kept going. So props to him. Like, he's a player that's received some criticism, including from me in the past. I really like what I saw in the game against Addis and what I saw today. His contract ends next year, by the way. There's been some interest shown in him from Sevilla, Sevilla in Spain, if we believe the reports. Those are my three positives. I mentioned already negatives: Ortega, Jekyll, and Hyde. I thought we could have controlled the game better when they went down to 10 men, and I think the manager touched on that as well after the game ended. So. Like, we won the game 2-0. That's what matters. We won the game. We got the 3 points. We got the season kicked off to the right on the right foot. It's always complicated going away against Volos. We drew 2-2 last season. So, some creativity was missing, and those are some things that we can talk about later on in the show.
Martial?
Well, I pretty much agree with what Costa said. The first good point for me would be the clean sheet, because we all know that Volos away is pretty much the best sample you can get about Greek football, especially for newcomers. I mean, Pirola, Velde too. When you play away in Volos, you get a taste of Greek football quickly. So it was good to win that game. 2-0, I think, is a good score, because it shows that we have solid foundations, but it also shows that not everything is perfect, and we still need improvement. Like, imagine if we won that game 5-0, it would have been even better. But I don't know. The picture is very clear for me. The foundation of Mendilibar are very solid. So do not rely on specific players, even if, of course, some players are more important than others. But the fact that it shifted Ndoye as number 6, I think it's what we all wanted to see at Olympiacos since probably Martins. I keep talking a lot about Bento, because Bento was the one that he had, like, I don't know, a youngster that was number 6. If the team needed number 6, he would use the youngster instead of replacing a player that was, like, for example, a center back into the midfield. And Mendilibar is a rational guy. He's very simple. He sees that Ndoye's aggressivity may be useful in the league, in the Greek league, into the midfield, and we've seen today that is totally true. And I don't really expect Ndoye to be, for example, good with the ball in his feet, to have super long passes. It will be a bonus, but if he can put more aggressivity into the midfield against teams like Volos and the Greek league, it will be good. And I was a little bit frustrated with Kostulas, because I think it was a very difficult game for him. It wasn't bad, but it's difficult for him. He's coming off a very good under-19 season, and when El Kabi came in, you see the difference. Even if El Kabi is not 100% yet, the way he claims the ball, like the defense is not the same when they have to face El Kabi, because the offside goal, I think with the last season of El Arabi, we forgot what was a striker that can claim the ball very fastly, in the defense back. And also the fact that Masuras scored that goal off his pretty much first ball of the game is a good reminder that a friendly is only a friendly. Like, friendly is a game that allows mistakes. You can be a striker and miss. I don't know how many goals Masuras missed during the summer, like 5, 10. I don't remember exactly. But
Maybe
it's
more.
okay because I knew he was going to score in the league, and that was the perfect answer. And when the cross of Gelson, I thought at first he had missed his cross because I hadn't Masuras on the screen, and then I saw Masuras coming in, and the very nice finish. And
did they end up crediting Masuras with the goal? Because it looks like it comes up as an own goal for Korea.
On SofaScore, I saw it was credited as an own goal, but
yeah,
I'm
curious
giving
how
it
the
to
Super League
Masuras.
will do it. Yeah. But either way, like it's important for him. It's important for him and his confidence to be able to do that.
Yeah, because
100%.
about the contract renewal and stuff. Was it a good idea or not? But I think
And
overall, during the whole season, it will be a good idea.
Yeah.
It's the old guard that did the job today. Like Rodinei, both with left-footed finishes, by the way.
Yeah.
Rodinei, Masuras. It wasn't. I think there was if you talk to Olympiacos fans before the game, everyone, whoever's a betting man, they were going in and saying, "Oh, Velde to score." Velde today for me was one of the poorest on our team.
And what was wrong, Costa? What was wrong? What did you not see today that you saw all preseason? What did Velde not have today?
What
no space.
Is what you said in your scout report. Like every time the ball went to him down the left-hand side, there was somebody, if not two people, on him closing him down. So it was difficult for him. But there were a couple of times during the game where he found space. And man, I have to say, like, because I saw him live when I went to the Forest friendly. The guy looks like a reindeer when he's running. And he's really, I can't remember from the scout report how tall he is, but he looks big.
6
foot.
foot.
He's a tall boy.
Yeah.
And he's rapid, like for his height. And I was really impressed by his stature, like when you see him up close. But yeah, we did see a bit of what you said in the scout report in terms of how it might be difficult for him in Greece against those kinds of teams. And that's where we're also lacking that kind of extra creativity that we've lost without a Pedence or a Fortunis. I think Chiquinho is a very good player in terms of his work ethic, like his technique, his link up play. I still feel like he is a bit out of sorts on the pitch, like where he's being asked to play. I think he's better suited a little bit further back. I don't mean that negatively towards him, but it's obvious that you're missing that trequartista, that 10, if you want, in the midfield in that kind of game. I wasn't really worried at any point during today's game. Thought like, it will come, like the goal will come. But just like it would be nice if we do get that one player that can help us in those types of games. It became obvious, or at least in preseason games and today, that that kind of player is missing.
I would agree with you there because, like, in terms of how we've seen the games, I more or less agree with both of you. And a lot of what I was thinking about today were the things that have carried, like some of the patterns we saw from preseason that came today, and some of that, I will say, inability to break things down in the final third was one thing that kind of stood out to me. As who are we don't have where, and that's where you start to see like you're missing that presence, that Costas Fortunis or the Daniel Podence presence when you're in these low blocks and dealing with some of these teams. Like who's that guy that can help break things open? And you started to see a little bit of that because Velde, my again, it's just the first game. It's just the first game, so we're not going to take too much, right? It's one data point. There's still so much season to play, but some of my concerns I had about Velde, we saw that when you had that lower block and he didn't have some of that space to run. If he has space to cut inside or run, I mean, the guy's super dangerous. He's such a good player. But I mean, overall, though, the fact that we were not really, and this is still an incomplete team, the fact that we were not really tried at all. We weren't challenged. I never felt like we were in danger. And this comment from Achilles Beos to me, like this is it. I didn't like the team either, but I'm not going to complain. Just look at our rivals. I've watched almost every minute of European football that our rivals have played, and they do not like. Ike looks terrible. Panathinaikos to me doesn't look good as well. And Balk, I see the same Balk I saw last season, which is that like it's that which Balk to me is better than the other teams, but like the level of performances that they have, it's not sustainable because like they don't play. I don't know. I still don't see like a concerted system with Balk. I see guys on the field and it's just like chaos. I see things that happen and their results to me, it defies logic. They get these wins, but I don't think it's sustainable. It wasn't sustainable last season. And if Ike and us hadn't struggled as much as we did, I don't think Bach would have been in the title race if that were the case. But I don't know. I'm not impressed by any of those teams. And I think us playing at we'll say it was like 50 or 60%, I'm not worried. I'm not. I know we're going to make a couple of signings. And I know that we're going to work out a few of those things. But I wasn't worried, and I don't understand. What some of the complaining is about here. I don't get it. I don't get it. We could have had more goals. I mean, we had like 12.5 shots today. Sometimes I wonder, like, okay, maybe some people thought we should have been winning 4-5-0 on our game opener like last season. Didn't we win 4-0 on our game opener last year under Diego Martinez? And look at that. Look how that ended up for him. What I care about is the identity of the team from the preseason has not changed. We have seen the same thing, and we've seen the same consistencies and patterns, unfortunately, of with the final third. But we have built better as on the team. I think the team at this stage compared to last season is built way better than it was last season. So I'm not as worried. There's very few fixes that we need to make, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and you know what? I've been working as a journalist for years, and one funny thing that the coach keeps saying when you ask them after games in August, and they keep telling like the summer market should be closed when the league starts, because pretty much everything you say on the presser after or before a game in the league in August, like, will probably make no sense 1 week later, 2 weeks later, because if you're a small club, if I can say that, you are fearing that to lose your key players in the last weeks of August. And if you're a club like Olympiacos, for example, you know that the club is going to sign 2, 3, 4 players. And that's why the situation is very funny, because we can ask ourselves, like, how many players that play today will be starters this season? We don't know. Like huge majority of them will remain on the team. But I don't know, sometimes some players, maybe if we sign a left back, Ortega will lose his spot. Pirola will go on the bench, or Biancon, or I don't know. So August game are very funny. It reminds me of the first Europa League game of Nantes 2 years ago, when you look at the lineup and you just know that this club will evolve so quickly. And at least we have found some calm, we are not going to sign half of a team, I hope, before the last days, because the foundation are here.
Is there also another reason why you mention managers' statements in August and how they might seem funny? Following some comments of a certain manager in the United Kingdom that manages for yellow and black Wolves. Let's just say it. Gary O'Neill made some comments today about Pedence.
Yeah, but I think those comments only means like they're only backed by his opinion, like O'Neill's opinion. Sometimes, the coach themselves have no clue about what's happening, or maybe they're going to. It's a poker game.
Exactly.
Of course it is. Yeah.
But it's funny because I just Googled Pedence O'Neill now. The first thing that comes up is Daniel Pedence doesn't share Wolves goals, reveals Gary O'Neill. That he didn't fit into the culture Those are some of the comments that he was making last season. And for the life of me, I cannot find what he said in English that's been translated by, it seems, nearly every Greek sporting outlet, saying that he was basically the Greek reports are saying that O'Neill stated after today's game against Arsenal, Wolves lost to Arsenal 2-0. He says Podence was at the exit, but now he wants to work hard with him.
That's
like,
yeah.
What does that even mean? And I don't know why people are freaking out so much. Like, and it's exactly to Martial's point. Like, why are people freaking out so much that Gary O'Neill came out and said, you know, I want to work hard to keep Podence here? It's like, what's he going to say? It's like, oh yeah, we're going to sell him. I don't want him.
The full context of that quote, he mentioned 3 players: Chiquinho, yes, and Podence, and he had mentioned that Podence was like out the door, and then but the 3 of them, he wants to work with them. He didn't say specifically just Podence. Like, he said these 3 basically like they weren't happy players. They weren't going to be with the team, but he wants to work with them, and that's what a good manager should be saying anyway. But forget the Podence stuff for a second. Are you guys, this question from Alexandrosism, asking, disappointed that Bakulas and Musakitis didn't play? Are you guys kind of surprised by that or disappointed by that? I wasn't surprised. I didn't expect either one of them to play today, to be honest with you.
We play Galiteas on next game, sorry. So maybe they will play.
Yeah, this game. I was never an away game, first game of the season. You know, you need to get the win to start things off right. I was never expecting. Maybe if we were winning 3-0, but no, I was never expecting this.
The only thing that worries me is Biancon's being subbed off. Yeah, I know he had a yellow card, but
the yellow,
right?
Yeah, I don't really like when a centre back is subbed off when there is no injury. It reminds me sometimes what Pedro Martins did, you know, with strange substitution sometime.
Yeah, Mendilibar does this though. He did it at the end of last season.
I think, to me, his first 2 substitutions made a lot of sense in that, okay, Costulas wasn't doing enough in the first half. I mean, you need to start giving game time to Akabi, and he was quick about making that change. He did that right at halftime, and then Biancon got the yellow card. And the one thing I mentioned before was that we weren't able to control the game as well as any of us would have wanted to. You're Olympiacos, you're playing against the team that's playing with 10 men. Keep the ball, like, control the game, control the possession, make them run, move the ball. And we weren't doing that well enough. So it made sense to bring in a player like Stamenic, who we know is more technically adept in midfield. He moved Doi back, brought Biancon off, brought Stamenic in to kind of try and calm things down in the middle, move the ball. So that, in that sense, I understood that. That was my understanding of the change, at least. And you know, you didn't want to run any risks of Biancon getting into trouble again. It's an untested defense in terms of chemistry. Like, they've never played together before in an official game. So for me, it was like, after that sub, I was like, okay, good sub, get on with it. You're on mute, Ari.
Yeah, I saw that. I've been doing this a lot the last couple of weeks, but I agree with everything you said, Costa. And regarding Costulas, though, I did think it was nice that he got minutes. But
absolutely,
because he needs that, and I had a feeling he would, at least in the beginning, start to struggle with the pace of, maybe not the pace of first team football. It's, people are getting very physical with him. Do you see like how, like, and I think he has to get used to that. Like, people are tugging your jersey. The defenders are not, they get physical with you. And he was a bigger boy against the U19s, even in the B side, when he would play with the B team here and there. Like, he was a bigger presence. it was maybe a little bit easier for him to exert, or not exert himself. What's the word I'm looking for?
Impose himself on the game.
Impose himself. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
And at the first level, even with smaller teams, you're playing against like better caliber players, even if it is Super League, and you're going to have to figure out how to outmuscle them. You're going to have to figure out how to outthink them. And I think I'm not worried about that part. I'm not going to be worried. I think he needs a little bit of time to adjust to this, but it was nice to see him get minutes and like make some runs and face that. But the difference was absolutely clear when El Kaabi came on for me. Not just with the runs, but in terms of how he handles the opposing defense.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say something on the youngsters and the point that Alex brought up. I was watching an interview with Alekos Alexandris, former legend striker of the club. He was also coaching the U19s. I think it was when there was Fetfadzidis, Soiledis, Nikritsiotis. So he's been through the academies. And he was saying like the target of these boys, like Kostulas, Muzakitis, Pakulas, it should be to play 10, 15 games for the first team, like this season.
Carapapa said that in the interview too.
He did?
10, 20 games. Yeah, remember he said that Mendilibar had told him next season, give them to me, they'll play 10, 20 games. So,
yeah. And that's it. Like, I'm not worried that they didn't play today. The one thing I might worry about is that we go back to our old ways and make a panic signing that takes away their game time. That's what I worry about more. But in general, I've been very calm this summer and very confident in our transfer strategy and how we've made moves. And I trust that they're going to do the right thing to make sure that these kids develop into important tools for us moving forward, not just this year, but for the years to come.
Yeah, the panic buy is something that we all have in mind every summer. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen because the competition is getting weaker this season. I can smell it. Maybe Panathinaikos will benefit from that because they do. If they keep Ioannidis, maybe they will have good bases.
Right.
But PAOK's defense is terrible. They need 4 to 5 players only in defense because they lost 2 center backs. Maybe Kotaski will leave. Just look at PAOK's defense today in perspective with the game we had today, and people keep saying we need a center back, which is true, I think. But I mean, like even Biancone would be a starter in every great club. Like it's about time that a coach uses the entire squad he has, and I think Mendilibar will do that. It did that when he came last season. It costed us probably the league in playoff, I think, because he rotated the team too much for me. But I think at least he used the whole squad, and that will make a difference. Unlike Martins, when he came and cut some players that were barely starters, like how long did it take for those players to have a chance to start? If we remember that,
yeah.
I think even Guilherme needed like 1-2 months to be a starter.
Yeah,
you're right.
Pedro took his sweet time.
Yeah.
This is an important point, actually, because next week on Saturday, the Youth League champions go and play Flamengo in Brazil. So obviously we want to go there and compete and try and win it and have the best tools available. If Mendilibar wants players with the first team, though.
Yeah. Can I be honest with you, like with this comment? So it looks pretty clear that Papacanelos and Koutsidis probably aren't going to be a part, especially if we're looking for another center back. Like where Koutsidis isn't a part, we know Papacanelos. There were loan rumors. I don't mind those two going, but like Bakul, as far as I'm concerned, Muzakitis, Kostulas, and Bakulas are first team players. So they are not going. That's how I look at it. This whole youth league, super cup, whatever you call it, like fine, that's all great. But like these kids are first team players for me. That means thanks, but no thanks. Like this is a fantastic little competition, but I'm not risking any first team players at all. Sorry. That's how I play it. I'd rather them play against Galicia than go to Brazil. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Question to Sir Kinetic. What part of London are you from, mate? Out of interest, because I'm a Londoner.
Why did they put that game in August 24? Man, it's a terrible date.
I'm sure it has
In
something
Brazil
to do
too.
with the. I'm sure it has something to do with the scheduling of the Brazilian league. I would imagine. But Martial, I wanted to touch on because you were talking about like the other teams, the defenses, of the other teams, and Ike, Panathinaikos, PAOK, and I also wanted to touch on how, first of all, Ike is not making any more defensive signings. Almeida said he's got a big enough roster for just Greek competitions. So he's not making any more.
I think he's right on that.
Right. But like the defense does not look good. I mean, you let in as many goals as you did against such terrible competition. Awful. Panathinaikos' squad is so old. If they do sell Ioannidis, their squad age will be like 28 and a half. All they've done is sign 30-year-old players, and they have no academy. We've talked to people that have played in the lower divisions, that have played against Panathinaikos' B players and their academy team, and they have said that Panathinaikos' academy is dog shit. Like it's the worst academy that they played against compared to like Olympiacos, PAOK, and Panathinaikos if we're talking about them. So they've got nobody. They've got nothing youth. It's an aging squad. I don't know. I think Martial's right. I think like we're about to see maybe another downturn for Greek teams, or at least the top Greek teams.
At least Almeida's pass look more logical to me, because if you want to fix a team, the most likely scenario is to rebuild a chemistry in the team, in the locker room, and to have internal solution. The issue with Ike is that they don't have internal solution.
No.
But I think Mendilibar showed that the only path towards success for a Greek club is to use every pieces of your squad. And Lucescu Recipe was that for years. Like he was using every pieces of his squad. And how many players we waste on Olympiacos' recent history by signing someone at that position? Someone can have 10 bad games, but if another coach comes, and I think under Mendilibar, a lot of signings we made over the last years would have turned into good players, decent players.
I agree. Can we have like a little reality check here too about something? So like as it stands with what we've seen here, this squad has enough to compete for the title. Like if we're being honest.
Yes.
As it is now.
So, right. On skill, on merit, like forget, we don't know how the derbies are going to turn out because there's a whole different like mental game with that and other things. But like based on what we've seen, based on the talent that we have, do you believe that this squad as it is can compete for the title?
This team?
This right now. No signings, whatever.
Yeah, because what wins you a title is the mentality. The talent, of course, but it's the mentality, the chemistry, and a real leader that everyone wants to follow. I think we have all that.
The recipe's there. You're missing a few ingredients. I think things will get. I think we've said it. Broken record the last few shows. We need 2, 3, 4 maximum signings, but they need to be high quality. Martial might disagree with me on the number, but again, honestly, I think we need a left back.
I agree.
We need a left back. We need a centre back. And we need a creative player that can play in the hole and on the wing if needed.
For the reason I say this, right, is because the reality check isn't necessarily like, oh, the reality is we're a title contender. The reality check is the pieces that we bring in are primarily for us to be competitive in Europe. So if the pieces that we bring in are for that, there is a very, very, very visible ceiling of what we will bring in, because otherwise the payoff doesn't make sense. Right now, we're guaranteed to make about 20-25 million in Europa League, assuming we get past the first knockout round in the new year. So, and we qualify for that, might I add. So, assuming that's the case, there's a very visible limit on what you will spend on a player. So that's the reality check. So that being said, what I said on the last show was that I think we have two needs and two wants, right? The needs, obviously, for me, one was a winger. And then we need a secondary left back, or an alternate option at left back. Those for me were the needs. My wants were a center back, maybe somebody with more experience, and I think Horta was like my second want. But that's it. For me, it's two needs and two wants. And the limit of what you will get is based on your earnings potential in Europe. If you're not going to make that much money in Europe, you're not going to spend 10 million euro for a player. That's just how it is. So this is the reality check some people need to have.
I sent on the Patreon's group, my wishes would be a left back, a center back that is not Carmo, but a little bit older, like 26, 27, 28. Podense, and I would say Fortounis, because on games like today, he's probably the best player in Greece when it comes to seals those games. Of course, he can offer way more than that, but out of like his free agent, it's a rational solution I'm willing to take, even if I think the cycle is ended. But I would rather go with Fortounis than taking the risk to bring another player from abroad in this position, because you're most likely getting another Pep Biel like of signing than finding someone that will have the numbers of Fortounis. Having said that, the plan with Europe is unclear to me, because if we do win the league this season, it pretty much guarantees us Europe, basically. It does not guarantee us the Champions League, but I think we need to have back-to-back summers with the lowest numbers of qualifiers game in it. And if we win the league, I don't know in which qualifiers round we're getting in the Champions League, but I think we're basically playing 4 games, right? Like 2 rounds of Champions League. 3 rounds?
If we
I think
win
we
this
start
year.
we start from the 3rd round, I think.
Right. If we
So
win this year right now with our coefficient.
Yes.
4 games to play.
Yeah.
4 games to play with most likely Europa League guaranteed if you win the first tie.
Right.
So basically, if we do win the Super League, we have Europa League almost secured for 2nd season in a row. So I don't know.
Who do you guys think leaves if we sign a centre back? That was the question from Priono Cordella
Besides
about Abbey.
Koutsidis?
Yeah, because with
Because he's gone,
Koutsidis, there's 6 or even 7. Hang on.
It's
you
Retsos.
got Retsos, Pirola, Biancon, Doi can play there, Koutsidis, Abbey.
And that's it,
6.
Right. So he goes, you have 5.
Koutsidis is gone, that's 5. But then you sign someone, you're 6 again for two spots. So what do you do? What do you do with Abbey? What do you do with Pirola? I mentioned
on the offers. Depends on the offers, right? Abbey, we know there was an offer. Garapapas told us that in the interview. Wasn't there? Didn't someone say there was an offer for Biancon?
That was reported today.
Yeah.
And then Doi supposedly has interest. So we're talking about one of those 3, because Retsos isn't going anywhere. Pirola is not going anywhere. So which one of those three would you give up? At this rate, the way Ndoye has played the end of the preseason and then today, I like having the versatility of him, especially to cover for injuries in midfield. So I'm not so sure. I was almost pretty sure that I would sell him before because my two sells were BL and Ndoye. I'm not sure anymore that I want to do that. I'd rather keep him. Then it comes, Abby, who hasn't looked super impressive in the preseason, at least compared to what we saw in the games that he played last season. I think that depending on what kind of offer you get for him, maybe you offload him, or maybe Biancone. If Nelson Abbey is a better value potential in the future, you hold him, and then maybe you sell Biancone if you get a decent offer. But at that point, it's between those two.
I think I would sell Abbey personally, because for a center back, I would loan him probably. But I don't know, because I can smell that Abbey most likely will never have a chance on a permanent basis with us, because we are going to keep bringing players at his position, and the one that has the spot is Retros, and the other one will be signing. So
yeah,
I think I think a lot of people do not realize how useful Biancone can be over a full season.
And he plays right back too.
Yeah, I think we also forgot that he had 2 surgeries last season. It's a guy that had an ACL when he got to Nottingham and had 2 surgeries last season. So he has been unlucky with injuries for 2 years, but he's 24, he's French, he comes from Monaco. I think he's an easy sell. If he plays 20-25 games this season, it will be either useful or easily sellable if it's not useful. And I think he's comfortable in this club too, and I think it counts when it comes to center back to be.
And he loves it too. Last season, he was so supportive of not just the first team, but the youth also.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I love that kind of personality to be here, like somebody that actually wants to be here. So I wouldn't be, if it's a choice between, depending on the offer size, I'm not going to get rid of the guy that I know really loves it here and wants to be here and knows what it means to wear the shirt. Not that I have anything against Abbey, because I liked what I saw at the end of last season from him when he was getting games. But if I have a feeling that Abbey would be the one that ends up getting you the bigger offer anyway. So if it becomes like an offer size thing, that's probably the one you let go of, unless you keep him because you think he's going to do more in the future. But I don't know. That's how I think about it.
No, yeah, you're right. And I think, I don't know. I don't think Abbey. I love the guy. I think he has tremendous potential, but we kind of struggle to really have a center back that shines and gets sold like that. Of course, we sold Retsos, but Retsos was homegrown, so it's different. Look how we handled Cisse, we handled Ba, we handled even Meria before he made that mistakes in Tottenham. I don't know. We have a poor record of center backs shining with the club, so I would sell him if he has some potential, or at least a loan with option. If we loan him, if he's good, he can be sold. I think one of them needs to.
Yeah.
But
then you lose the left-footed.
Yeah, we should loan him in the championship. Honestly, 40 games of championship would be good for him.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's difficult.
I'm curious what they will do. Yeah, I'm for me, I think it's going to end up coming down to who you get a better offer for. But you look today, and Pido looked fine. People were complaining to me about how Pido, he can barely play the ball out of the back. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing.
He looked okay a couple of times where he had to advance the ball down the left-hand side.
He looked fine. He looked fine. He's quicker.
It's clearly a transition for him, coming from a team that's just used to sitting low block and defending behind the ball for 90 minutes, and coming to Olympiacos where he's going to be much more active.
Right.
It's a transition. for him.
Yeah, and it's more risk for him as a center back too, because he's not in a back three anymore. He was in a back three at Salernitana, and he was the one that sometimes would get forward, be a little bit more aggressive, going for blocks. He can't do that now. He's
He
got to be
looks
the
like
one
the
that's
cover.
cleaning up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's the cover now.
yeah.
He
Blocked some
did well
shots
today,
too.
man. Mate,
Yeah,
like
he did fine.
the blocks that he did today were crucial.
Yeah,
Like they're the kind of things that I don't even know if they're on the match highlights of Cosmodare, but like he made a
no,
couple
they're
of
not.
blocks inside the box where you're like, good on you, mate, because that was going on target and that could have been tricky. By the way, Zolakis looked more stable today.
Thank God.
Important. Yeah, because every time there was a set piece, I was really like clued in, looking at what's going on, and like we know he likes to punch the ball, and like his punches were good today, and in general, like he, I was a bit worried after the Forest game, but we dealt well with the set pieces today.
Definitely. There's Costa. There's actually like a couple of players that I think we should focus on too. One in particular, we talked about him briefly when we were going over the post match, Gelson Martins, and I had just really one question for you guys. If Gelson Martins can stay healthy all season, is he not going to be the best winger in Greece?
Easily.
Like
Not even it's not even close, man. So the things that he was doing today, even like he's playing at 70%
yeah,
for me, like that's what I see. And I, like
it
when
looks
this guy
easy.
gets to 100%, man, it's gonna be unfair.
Yeah,
It's
If he can
easy.
get there, and if he can stay there is the big question mark.
I think I will say the same that I said for Biancon, but I think we don't realize how much of a bargain could be Gelson for 3 million out of the blue in January when no one knew the that we were after this guy. I don't know how we got him. Like we got it cheaper than Onyekuru when you think about it.
Yeah, that's
Also, the question I have
NBL
is
cheaper than BL2.
something that I was thinking about for a lot of time is a lot of players came with injury records or I don't know, not being fit enough. And I think the club Olympiacos is very good, and I know it's because of Hernani Gomez mainly, but the club is very good when it comes to have players that knows how to be fit and avoid injuries, because we all say it like, hey, Retsos might have changed something in the way he works. I don't know, but it just came back to Olympiacos, and I think the club works very well when it comes to bodies and so there is something we probably don't know. I don't know what does make the club so good in that, but if Gelson can be fit for at least 35-40 games during the whole season, like we're not ready for what's coming, because he would have scored today if El Kabi wasn't offside for half a centimeter.
Right.
He created a chance for himself too. I think he hit the target where he chipped the ball over a defender and then volleyed it. No, it's not even fair, man. It's like if he gets to Gelson Martins level that he was at Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah,
I was at the Garaiskagi when they beat us 3-2, and what he did to us on that night was this scary player. If you're if you're defending against him, man, like
and is not really shiny. Like he's not someone that I don't know how to say that, but his dribble is very efficient. Like it's not shiny.
Yeah.
Shiny.
He's not
dribbles.
Ronaldinho.
Yeah, exactly.
he's gonna make Priest Thakani Papades.
But like that's a winger where you can get something out of him even in like a lower block. Like this guy can make something happen. You know what I mean? He's an incredible player to me. The big thing for him is just, can he stay healthy? But besides Gelson Martins, there's another player I wanted to bring up because we haven't really talked about him yet that much, and that's Santiago Heze. Starting off the season strong in the first match of the season, for official match of the season for us. Intercepting the ball constantly. He actually had a couple nice balls also in the final third too. Like another player that people want to complain to me about that he's overhyped and overrated. Like kiss my ass. Santiago Heze is going to be a super important part of this team again this season. Fantastic from him, and so important to the pressing scheme also. But I just wanted to bring his name up because he was phenomenal again.
Effortless.
Yeah,
We're used to that now.
I know. That's the thing. How does he? Because a player that didn't have as much offensive upside, like how does he, maintain or improve on that to where people still because now you're expecting that the defensive success that he had like from last season and this season. So like
his ability to break up the play and just get the counterattacks going is elite. Like he was intercepting the ball and then flicking it with the outside of his foot after he didn't intercepted it with his inside and then just flicked it on to somebody that was running off and then you're off on the counter.
He's the press trap. Like he is our press trap. Like if he's not having a great game, you definitely see some holes in our press, man. But like when he's on it, you see how lethal these pressing traps are. He's just so good. And this is the guy that next summer or winter, even, God forbid, that you have to worry about how do I find a replacement for this? The tactical acumen, the ability to keep himself positionally like always in the right spot. That is going to be something that is going to be more worrisome for us to replace in the future. But I just wanted to bring Heze up again, and I will probably continue to bring him up because he's such an important player for this team and this scheme.
Yeah.
And then the last player, he came on only for a substitute appearance, Stamenic.
Yeah, there's just a comment that came in about him.
I mean, it is lack of fitness. He just came back recently, but I actually thought he was fine when he came in as a sub. Like,
got a shot away too. Got a couple of shots.
Yeah, he also had a pass for a shot too, and he won every ball that he had in the air. It was like a couple of them. He had a couple of like duels, I remember, but I don't think he was that.
And I'd hear they said that he still looks a bit arse at the moment.
For me, I don't see the aggression that I saw at Red Star. And like this is kind of like what worries me about like Stamenic. Maybe it's a post-injury thing, but like when I was doing the scouting report and I was watching the tape, like he was so much more aggressive. And I watch him since he's been at Olympiacos and returned from injury, and like I don't see this player that was like an enforcer. You know what I mean? And I don't get that presence from him either. When I would watch the games and the replays for Red Star, like, man, this guy's getting in people's faces. He's like getting physical and yanking on jerseys, kind of like Amrabat does. And I was like, man, like, okay, this is a presence we've been missing. I don't see that at all. And I'm a little worried about that because I'm hoping it's not a mentality thing.
He's 22. He's in a new club, new faces, new environment, slightly different culture, new manager. Got injured right at the beginning of preseason. I thought today he was a little bit. He'd improved,
yeah,
from last week's friendlies for sure. He looked a little bit faster on his feet, if that makes sense. So he's. I think it's normal. It's unfair to judge. The problem is that the player he's coming in to replace is just somebody that we like put up on such a high pedestal, despite the criticism that he received last season. If you go back to last December, it's not easy to replace Vicente Iborra. That presence, like he's a bit man. We don't win Conference League without Iborra. We don't win it. His for me, his presence in midfield was just as important as Carmo's was at the back. And that's not easy to replace. And that's a 30. Was it? He was 35. Stamenic is 22. The other guys won 4 European trophies, now 5.
Yeah.
Stamenic hasn't. He won a Serbian title last season.
Yeah,
it's not. And this is always the thing in football with football clubs. You get attached to players, and you're like, oh, now I need to find the Podence replacement. I'm not saying that for any specific reason right now. Just an example, every player is different. It's not always easy to replace players like for like. So we need to take him for what he is and give him time. And we keep saying it again and again. European games start 25th of September. We haven't seen Danny Garcia yet.
No, but he was also more like recently injured, right? Because Stamenic had the earlier return. Danny Garcia was supposed to come back later, I thought.
So Danny Garcia got injured literally at the beginning of preseason.
Right.
So he might start getting games after the international break.
I think also the schedule we have with Kalitea, we have Lamia away, and then we have Olympiacos is pretty much still preseason for some players like Stamenic, Garcia not because he will be injured still, but like El Kaabi, for example, they have an ending of a preseason because the schedule is quite open for us. I hope, and that's why I'm confident, because I think Mendilibar, he understood exactly what I've been saying for years. Like the league, the Super League, is like I won't say it's easy because we haven't won it for 2 years now, but handling the squad is not really that difficult when you coach Olympiacos. If you're strong enough to say to the board, like, stop signing player that will just bloat the squad for no reason, I'm okay. Like, I can shift Endoy as a number 6. We have a batch of players that won the Youth League months ago. We do have a basis of like 22 players that it's enough to win those games, and okay for top signings at the end of August. But it's a pleasure when you're coach. I do hope it's a pleasure for Mendilibar to make his squad when you have to face Kalitea at home, Lamia away, and Panetalikos at home. Because look, today the quality of the players we have is enough to make Volos look like an offensive team. Last season when we played Volos with Martinez, like, I do feel that they were more threatening than today. The team overall wasn't playing the same. That's the Greek league reality. Okay, you have derbies, but you do play AEK, PAOK, and Panathinaikos twice before playoffs, like just twice. It's 6 games out of 24. The rest of the game will be again opponent. You need to win. I won't say easily, but comfortably.
Right.
It's not that hard for me, I think.
No, and he's been very, like, since he's been here, he's been quite logical, at least with the squad. So I appreciate him, and I think he saw the schedule also and saw that it was an opportunity to maybe give that preseason to the player. We'll call it quote unquote preseason to the players that are just returning from injury. So I think anyway. First of all, we were never going to replace the mammoth of a man that Iborra was. Also, like, he was the guy's Goliath. I still think of that picture of him next to the Renault. Was it a Renault? What was
the Renault Captur?
Yeah, and it's like, dude, this guy, like, first of all, he doesn't fit in that car, but he could probably pick this car up and take it to the airport with him. Like, there's no way. You were never going to replace that. And then that, like, how many players are we going to find that have won 4 European titles that are going to come play at this club?
Exactly.
So no, there's a lot of things that I don't think that people took for granted, like types of player, like some of the players that we had here, like Carmo, Iborra, And they just took it for granted, like, oh, like this player came here. Now we can easily replace this. Like, no, it's not easy to replace these guys. Like Carmo's price tag, the type of player that he is, the specific incident and the situation that occurred at Porto had to happen for us to even sniff that. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Like, and the same thing with like Ibora, like these guys, this type of experience, these types of players, like they don't come to Greece, even Olympiacos, without these extenuating circumstances. So I don't think people have appreciation for how we get some of these guys. Not that I disagree with certain types of profiles and stuff that we have to get, but we have to be very realistic about what we can and cannot get.
Yeah, you're right, but I will go deeper on that, because who sniffed that? It's because Carvajal knows Portuguese league. The coach like Carvajal, with the amount of experience he has, he knows when Carmo is not counted by Porto, because he knows probably Porto's reality. He knows Conceição. He do know the reality of Braga with Horta not being used. It's the whole club that sniffed that, but it's mainly due to the coach. And I think I do hope Mendilibar can sniff that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe in January, if we do still need fixes in the team. Okay, I have a striker in this team that is not counted. I can have, you're totally right to say that, because what I want to say is that the success when we lift that Conference League, it's due to so many factors that it's very difficult. It's impossible to reproduce that, because you need like basically the whole universe to. It's like Doctor Strange reality. You need multiverse to be added together, to have both. You have to have Carmo not counting, to have Gelson getting injured and not be counting in the European list, because otherwise, who was the midfielder to be cut between Chiquinho and Horta? Because Gelson probably came to be in the European list.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you, Marcel. I think that's 100% right. Now, I think on that segment, and before we start to close the show up, I think that the message, one of the big messages about the replacement, the transfers and stuff is, it's August 17th, guys. We're all worried about replacements. We've got 2 weeks till the end of the transfer window. Have some patience and have just a little bit of faith. Right now, things are being done way better than they were last year or the year before. So let's have some patience and calm ourselves. But take into consideration some of the things that we're telling you, because it's not, the equivalences are not there. Anyway,
in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, go ahead, Costa. Sorry.
In 2 weeks' time, 15, 16 days, give or take. That's it. We have to submit our list to UEFA for Europa League on the 4th, if I remember well. So we've got 2 weeks. Got 2 weeks to finalize those transfers. And we play Califea on Monday, the 26th. So next week.
That's right. Monday game.
Yeah, we don't play until Monday. And then Lamia, we don't know yet when that's going to be.
Right.
But it's not long now, guys. So,
yep.
And I keep saying this to everyone, like freaking out about transfers. Just wait. Just wait until the window's finished, and we'll be back. We'll be back, and we can assess the transfer window as a whole. Do we have what we need to compete in all competitions? We'll talk about all of that stuff. But just, for those of you in Greece in particular as well, go and enjoy the rest of the summer. Like, go out on the beach, like order a cocktail, have a dip. For those of us that aren't in Greece anymore, summer vacation's over, man. Yeah, you guys enjoy yourselves, and we'll be here again to talk about transfers. Don't freak out. Like, have some faith.
Exactly. I've done so many less deep dives, Costa. My summer has been so stress-free. Last summer, I was up I did the number of scouting reports I've done this summer. I did that in June of last summer, just for you guys to think about. That's the absurdity of the transfer business that was going on the last 2 seasons at this club. But anyway, I digress. let's jump all in. Man of the match coach's grade. I forgot to put a poll up for this show. So, guys, just put in the comments who your man of the match was and what your coaching grade is for Coach Jose Luis Mendilibar. We usually do like A, B, C, D, E. But if you do 1 to 10, that is fine as well. A lot of people gave us grief about that last year. So whatever you want to do for your coach's grade, just drop it in the comments. But Martial, you start off with man of the match and coach's grade.
Man of the match would be probably, for me, I would say Entoy as a midfield because of the position. I really want him to be in that position for like 10, 15 games in the season to see what he can offer, but he needs to renew. He needs to renew because his contract ends in June, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So if he has to play the next game on the league, he needs to renew. And the coach's grade would be, I would say A, because I like the lineup. I like the way he took some risks. I like the fact that he subbed off Costulas at halftime. Overall, they got the win. The team looks in good shape, well prepared. The tactic is perfectly known by the team, so it's a A because I give it an A because that victory validates the summer preparation for me. I put the friendlies and the whole summer into that coach's grade.
Costa?
Yeah, it's between Doi and Gelson. And I think, like you say many times before, Ari, when it's when you make a decision about man of the match, it's how somebody or how one player impacted a game. So if I'm basing it on that, then it's Gelson today because he's come up with those 2 assists and he's put us in a position to win the game. So I'm going to differentiate myself and go for him. But yeah, shout out to Dewey as well. As I said earlier, I thought he had a terrific game and hope he continues to. Manager, I won't say more than what Martial said already. I give him an A as well. I thought good subs, particularly the first 2, Elkabi and Stamenic, and generally like the setup and even the surprise as well, having Costulas in the starting lineup. Ballsy decision. Just goes to show again what I said at the beginning. Doesn't matter if you're 17, 25, 36, whatever, what your name is. If you can do what the manager asks, you'll play.
Yeah, I'm going to be no different. Gelson Martins is my man of the match, with my strong shout being Santiago Eze. So even though I thought Doi had a great game too, but Santiago Eze for me, that's going to be my shout aside from Gelson. And then A as well. I can't believe the B pluses. I think that's a little harsh.
What did he do wrong?
Exactly. Like
let us know in the comments.
There was, what opportunity against us was dangerous, guys? Like, what opportunity did Volos have that was like not 20 meters out or like at an absurd angle? I can't think of anything. Anyway, it's so A for me. Like, if we had won like 4-0, 5-0, that's an A plus. Okay, like that's beyond. Like, you get a solid win and barely challenge, like that is an A. I don't understand how it can be anything less than that. But anyway, that's how I see it. You know, it's a day at the office. You get the job done on the first day, and now too early for an A. Come on, guys. Come on. Don't too early for it. Okay, I give up. All right. Anything else, guys? Nothing. All right. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Chat, you guys are entertaining as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. That's how we find more red and white fans. Follow us on OneFootball. Download the OneFootball app, and you can see all the content that we produce. We're not done yet. Big changes have happened, but there's more stuff coming. So check us out on Patreon as well, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Kalinichta. I hope everybody had a wonderful celebration on the 15th for Tis Panayas. So
And Kronya
Pola to everybody. And We'll see what happens in the coming week. Patience, patience, patience. That's what we're preaching to all of you. Have patience because the summer's not over yet. So thank you, everybody. This is Pido International by the fans for the fans, and we'll see you next time.